Hey, Tim Sykes here in Tokyo. Just drinking water. I'm trying to hydrate from traveling too much. Hold on. I just had to show you this view. I looked out here and, I got a big night. I got my family here with me and we're all going out to some amazing sushi restaurants. Actually, I think tonight is actually a steakhouse. But I just look out and I just see beauty and I just get inspiration and I couldn't help. I actually have to leave in a few minutes, but I couldn't help, just making this video and showing you the world because I know too many of you guys don't get to see views like this. I mean, this is my hotel suite and it's just one hell of a view. And you need to recognize how beautiful the world is and what's out there and the potential. I mean, look at some of these skyscrapers. Look at out there in the distance. I mean, these things are just amazing, amazing feats, amazing architecture, amazing projects that took years to build and develop. Tokyo was not built in a day, just like Rome was not built in a day. Nothing is built in a day. And you need to understand that so that you have the right kind of mindset when you go into the stock market or anything in life. Learning takes time. I talk to so many people every single day, and so many of you guys want to be millionaires, you want success, but you want it quick, and that's not the way it works, okay? If you actually look at the people who have made millions of dollars too quickly, lotto winners, like child stars in Hollywood, they're not well adjusted, okay? They actually end up really screwed up. Most child stars in Hollywood become like drug addicts. Most lotto winners, if you actually Google it, they don't do well. They can't deal with the big money. So I know many of you guys are just starting with small amounts and you're like, oh God, this is so annoying. I'm making 50 bucks here, 100 bucks there. Sometimes I'm losing 50 or 100 or 200. God, I just want to trade with 100,000 or a million and have it actually matter. Don't think like that, okay? You have to be grateful for every dollar that you have, just like I'm grateful. I started with just a few $1,000s. Several of my top students started with just a few $1,000s, and they turned it into 6 or 7 figures within a few years. But you can't rush it. You can't cheat your way to success. You can't cheat your way to the top. Like this building right here, they don't start building it from the top down. They build it one level up, bit by bit, okay? And that's what you have to do. If you have $2,000, if you have 5,000, 10,000 or even 50,000, everyone has different amounts. You have to be grateful for what you have and you have to maximize it and say, what can I do with this amount of money? I know there's some people out there on Twitter and they're just shorting every stock that spikes up huge and then they cover and they make these big gains and they post a screenshot every now and then. That's not realistic if you have a small account. I'm sorry, okay? It's a beautiful thing to be able to short and short big some of these pump and dumps, some of these, weed stocks, but that's not the case if you have a small account. You can't find shares to short at little brokers like E-Trade or Interactive Brokers. And if you do, maybe you might find like 1,000 shares. So while I know many of you guys worship these big short sellers, guess what? That's not your strategy right now. It's cool. Trust me, I've shorted big and I've won big. I've made over $100,000 shorting in a day. And it's fun to short big, but you have to, I'm repeating myself. You have to appreciate where you are right now in life. And so for me, when I'm teaching, even though I have millions of dollars in the bank, I trade with a small account to show you how to grow a small account. You think I don't want to short big? I do. Okay. But I also know that that does not help the vast majority of my students. So I'm not just going to do that. Next year, I'll actually have 2 accounts, a $5,000 account and a $1 million account. So you'll see how I trade differently with 2 different varying amounts. Leave a comment. Let me know if you think that's actually a good idea. Nothing is set in stone yet. We still have a few more weeks until the end of the year, and I'm always just throwing out ideas, trying to, try new stuff to see what can really teach you. But I think by showing the small account and the big account, and some of the trades will be the same, but some of them, like short selling, where you need a bigger account, like a $30,000, $50,000 minimum to actually reserve shares to short of a lot of these plays. Guess what? You can't do that when you have a small account, so you have to look to dip buy. I know there's a lot of short sellers that they mock me when I dip buy. They're like, oh, you're dip buying a fraud. You're dip buying a crap company. I know that, but it also works. When you have these marijuana stocks panic 30, 40, 50% inside of an hour or two, guess what? They can bounce 20, 30, 40, 50% also. And they have. CATQ the other day, I made 20%. CGRW, I actually screwed up a little bit. CATQ is actually not a marijuana company. It's a pump, but it's got a marijuana company type chart. Okay, CGRW is a weed stock, and I totally misplayed it. I actually lost a few $100 live during my webinar. But I learned and I got better. And then CNAB the other day, I made 23%. CATQ, I made 20%. Both of them bounced actually 30, 40, 50%. So I only took a small part of the move. But I want you to understand, like, I get these comments like, oh, Tim, you're a millionaire and you're bragging about these little $1,000 gains. Correct, because I'm taking $10, $15, $20,000 positions. I'm showing you what to do if you have a small account. So you have to keep everything in perspective. And that's why when I looked out here at Tokyo, I really thought that this would be a good video to make where, some of these buildings are very tall. This one, let me see if I can get my finger to show it. That bin, right? And then you have really small ones over there. They're different buildings. The small building doesn't try to be the tall building. They know what kind of building it is. So those of you with small accounts, don't try and trade like somebody with $1 million. I know a lot of these big short sellers absolutely get crushed sometimes too. They're like, oh, let me just short everything. Well, sometimes the stock squeezes them. And because they can add to their accounts and they can add to their positions, guess what? They can average up. You, if you're shorting these, you can't average up if you do find shares to short. Okay, you're taking huge risk. I see people like congratulating them on, they're down 50, 60, 70% on their short position, and then eventually it collapses and they make like 10, 20, 30%. Those are terrible risk rewards, especially if you have a small account. If you're already rich, no one trade actually matters, okay? Even if they're betting, $100,000. If you have 5, 10, 20 million in the bank, it doesn't matter. So trust me, I know a lot of these big short sellers. I've taught a lot of these big short sellers, but they have no perspective. And I want you to have that perspective because I talk to probably more traders than anybody in the entire world and more upcoming traders. And I know what you guys need. I want more millionaire students. And you need to think like you have $1 million, but you don't necessarily need to trade like you have $1 million. I want you to focus on that big goal. I get a lot of shit for saying, oh, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million. Guess what? Academic studies have proven that if you dream big and you have a big goal, you work harder, you work better, and your overall performance improves 15 to 25% while you're on the path to achieving that big goal. So you want to mock me and mock the fact that I bring up $1 million so often and mock my Ferrari and my Lamborghini? Do it. Do whatever makes you happy. I have thick skin, I can take it. But I will continue doing whatever I can to create more millionaire students. That is the goal. And to those of you who say money is not going to buy you happiness, it's not going to make everything go away, I'm not selling something that's going to teach you how to be happy, okay? I'm not some freaking yogi. I'm not some kind of self-help guru. I teach you a stock trading method that has made me and several of my top students 6 and 7 figures all within a few years. Most of us starting with just a few $1,000s. That is what I teach. What you do with the money, you can do whatever you want. You can start a charity like I have. I'm building roughly a dozen schools right now in third world countries. I'm very excited about that. That's why I'm in Asia. 2 of my schools are opening next week in Laos, so I'm going to go visit it. You can do whatever you want once you have that money, but you need to get that money. You need to get that freedom. So I make these videos to pump you up, to show you how freaking awesome the world is when you have money. This is in the middle of the week. I don't even know what time it is in New York, okay? It's probably in the middle of the night. But I'm here for fun, eating sushi and great steak with my family, and we're going to visit a school that my charity is building with Pencils of Promise, which is another charity that builds schools. And I'm going to build more schools too. My goal is big, as in 1,000 schools that I want to build. Some people say that's impossible. That's going to cost 30, 40, 50, 60 million. I know that. I have big dreams. I have big goals. And I want to live by the way that I teach. So yes, my goal is to build 1,000 schools. I know it's going to be tough, but I'm not just going to aim to build 20 schools. I'm not just going to say one school at a time. Obviously, it's one trade at a time to get to $1 million, but have a goal. Say, look, I want to make $1 million. What can I do to get there? Trade by trade, practicing good habits. Remember last week I made this whole video about Ray Allen and the boring old habits as the NBA player. He's retiring, and his boring old habit is just practice. Practicing threes, practicing shooting. And he's won 2 NBA championships, 2 very different teams. And he said, what do they have in common? All the players practice, practice, practice. Sometimes they ditch out on friends. They don't go out at night. They wake up early. After he won one of the NBA championships, he went to the dentist, and the dentist was like, Ray, what are you doing here? You just won the championship. He's like, well, okay, that's cool. The success that you achieve will not define you. It's a nice reward. When I talk about $1 million, sure, that should be your goal, or multiple millions of dollars. Dream big, right? But once you actually get there, as Michael Good and Tim Grittani and myself and several other millionaire students who don't necessarily want to be so public have learned, the money is just a byproduct, okay? It allows you to live really well and achieve freedom, but it's the journey while you're learning about yourself and striving to be better, developing yourself, building the habits, the work ethic, the dedication, the perseverance along the way that will really sink in. And when you have the $1 million, when you have the $2 million or $3 million in profits, which is what Tim Grittani now has, my top student in his 4th year, then you will appreciate every step you took along the way. Okay, maybe some of these small buildings will become big buildings. Maybe they're going to get added onto in the coming years. Don't think that all these buildings have to stay the same size, just like your account does not have to stay the same size. I don't know if that analogy works. I don't care. I'm freaking pumped right now just looking out at this and thinking about who will be my next millionaire student. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when, as I already have several students who are, mid 6 figures to high 6 figures, trade by trade, opportunity after opportunity, not necessarily winning every single time. Sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we miss a trade. Sometimes real life gets in the way. Guess what? This is real. And real stuff takes time. And it's not easy and it's not perfect. It's messy and difficult. And most people will drop out along the way. I wrote a blog post a few weeks ago about 2 students who achieved 6-figure success after losing for the first few weeks and the first few months, but they didn't give up. One of my students, he passed $300,000 in profits. He bought his dream house. He bought his dream car. And guess what? He had blown up 5 or 6 times in the first few months. Granted, he broke a lot of my rules, so I wasn't a fan, but at least he didn't give up. And blowing up is bad, but it's not the end of the world if you lose $1,000 or $2,000, okay? Tinker, test, you're a scientist. You need to refine and think about money in the real world. I know it's scary to lose any money whatsoever. I know a lot of you guys are scared, but as a scientist in the stock market, you have to test, and sometimes you're going to be wrong. You're going to learn what not to do. Stocks to Trade is coming out with paper money in the next few weeks, so you'll be able to test without risking any hard-earned money, but you don't get the full education that losing real hard money teaches you. When you break a rule and you lose money, guess what? You never want to do that again. Some of my biggest losses have helped me learn the most, and they've helped guide me and helped me develop the most. So while at first I was really pissed that I ever lost, and I still don't like it, I learned what not to do. That's part of your education. So if you do have a loss, don't give up. Don't say, oh, this loss is terrible. I'm just done trading. Then you let the stock market win. Then you let, failure win. Never give up. The stock market is always going to be there. There's always going to be opportunities. It's just a question if you're prepared and if you're around or not. And if you give up, if you stop studying, if you stop learning, if you stop trading, you can't test anymore. You stop developing, you stop growing. And that is not the secret to success, my friends. If you want true success, you're going to have to work for it. And you're going to have to practice your ass off. And you're going to have to study your ass off. But trust me, the journey is worth it. And I just get so pumped up and motivated just thinking about you guys. Some of you will fail. Some of you will not listen to my advice. Some of you will stop learning. And that's a shame, but that's reality. The good news is hopefully this video can reach a few of you. If you look at gyms, 80% of people with gym memberships don't even go to the gym. They have the gym membership, they pay the gym every month, and they don't actually go. So they never get fit, they never get healthy. 80%. Guess what the percentage is? I can see people who signed up to my newsletters and don't watch the videos. 84%. So 16% of you are actually watching the video lessons looking to get better. And to you guys, that's who this video is for. The 84% of you who are going to give up and you don't take it seriously, I can't help you. I can give you the rules, I can give you the patterns, I can give you literally a blueprint to making millions of dollars, as I've done several times now for several students. But you have to do it for yourself. You have to be in charge of yourself. You have to be dedicated. You have to grow and learn and take advantage when the right setups happen. You need to learn to find the right setups. Use stocks to trade. It's unbelievable to me that so many of you guys refuse to use stocks to trade. You're trying to use crappy platforms like FinViz or StockFetcher. If you cheap out on your education, you will learn that it will cost you far more in the long run. But if you don't believe me, listen, no one's forcing you to learn. All I can do is try and teach you, because I never had a mentor. I never had any guidance when I first started. And even though I had success because I worked my ass off studying literally 14, 16 hours a day, every single day, I wish that I had someone to speed up my learning curve. And guess what? That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be the mentor to you that I never had. And I think about that every day. I think about the years of wasted confusion and trying bad patterns and not learning from my mistakes, not understanding what I was even doing wrong. So trust me, I want you to be successful. Anyways, I gotta get going to my dinner. That's my spiel for today. Look at beautiful Tokyo here at sunset. I love it. Arigato gozaimasu.
My name is Tim Sykes, and I teach people to trade stocks. I am a self-made multimillionaire.
So this is the ideal trade that I'm going to talk about. I want you guys to understand every single aspect of this trade.